everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Okay, so it is time for me to officially begin the favourites and non-favourites for the first half of the year. So this is something that I do on my channel every year. I do two seasons, if you will, of favourites and non-favourites. One covering the first half of the year and then halfway through the year, and then one covering the entire year at the end of the year. And we have practically made it to the halfway point, so it's time to begin. Today I'm going to be discussing my favourite authors so far in 2023. Now, there are so many authors that I could have added to this list that, quite frankly, we could have been here for hours and hours and hours. So I decided to limit it down. In order to qualify, I needed to read a book by this author this year. And in order to qualify, I needed to have read 2 or more books by them for them to be placed 9th ranked or higher. For 10th ranked, there are 2 authors sharing that spot, but they are honourable mentions that I had to mention here because I'm intrigued once it's in the vault to see how things go with these authors. Here is my top 10 list for my favourite authors so far in 2023. So sharing 10th place equally are 2 authors that I've only read one of their books each. AJ Finn, The Woman in the Window is the only book I've read of AJ Finn's, and Alex Michaelides, The Silent Patient, being the only book I've read of Alex Michaelides. So both of these authors are sharing this 10th ranked spot because I've only read one book by them, but their books individually just blew me away. What they have done as authors is helped me to once again believe in and reignite my interest in thrillers. And this is something that had been waning for me for the longest time, ever since reading The Woman in the Window by Rachel Ryan. Prior to that and post to that, I have come across nothing but purely disappointing for me thrillers, and yet both of these authors have reignited my interest in thrillers and proven to me that there are still solid thrillers out there outside of The Woman Outside My Door by Rachel Ryan. AJ Finn, from start to end, this author knows how to keep me on the edge of my seat. I was captivated from start to end. And then when we got the reveal, I was not at all expecting it. I felt like the rug was ripped out from under me, but that's what I want in a thriller. I want to be on the edge of my seat all the way through from the start to the end. If you can do that, that achieves a goal. But then if you can yank the rug out from under me with the reveal and I fall off the chair, it's even better. So AJ Finn is a star at doing that at least in The Woman in the Window. Similarly, Alex Michaelides, The Silent Patient, Alex Michaelides wrote The Silent Patient, which is such an intriguing mystery. And so I was intrigued and on the edge of my seat all the way through. And then when the reveal happened, it blew my mind again. But also what's funny about that book is that I actually expected the reveal halfway through, and then Alex Michaelides is so talented that he or she took that suspicion away from me only for the reveal to happen and for me to forget that I had even suspected that halfway through the book until the following day. Both of them reigniting my passion for thrillers deserve the honourable mention of coming in at 10th place. Coming in at number 9 is LGBTIQ+ specialist, in my opinion, Kevin Van Wy. So a couple of years ago, I read Date Me Bryson Keller, and I absolutely loved it. And this year, I read Nate +1. I think I gave Date Me Bryson Keller 5 stars and Nate +1 4 stars, but it still doesn't take away what Kevin Van Wy has done for me. And that is that both of these books really are male romance books. A lot of the male romance romance books that I've read are more male, hard-hitting contemporary romance books. And these two just read like YA romances. It's just like picking up a standard YA male-female romance, but just with two boys, two guys. And I just think he did an amazing job. And Kevin Van Wy has become an author for me. I'm looking forward to the next book that he brings out. If you're looking for something that's not going to be too hard-hitting, just something fun and relaxing and easy to read that is male romance, I highly recommend Kevin Van Wy. The guy is a master at keeping it simple, keeping it about romance, and ensuring that the reader is going to have a good time. So coming in at number 9, Kevin Van Wy. Coming in at number 8 is Laura Bradford. Specifically, I'm referring to the A Friend for Hire cozy mystery duology. I've read book 1 and book 2. Book 1, A +1 for Murder, I gave, I think, 4 stars, and A Perilous Power book 2, I gave 5 stars. These two books, unlike any other cozy mystery that I've read, are extremely cozy. It's more like you bolden the word cozy and then you italicize the word mystery, so that rather than the genre reading as cozy mystery, it reads more as a cozy mystery. Just a little mystery on the side, but otherwise it's incredibly cozy. And I love Laura Bradford for that. I am someone who reads mysteries and cozy mysteries. So because I read both genres, when I come into a cozy mystery, I do so because I want the cozy element. And Laura Bradford showed me that there is a way to make this work. There's another author on this list that I'll mention in a moment that also knows how to make cozies extremely cozy. But for Laura Bradford, what I love is that these two are the only books, but the main books in the series, and they read as extremely cozy, where the other author did that with their novellas. But yeah, I highly recommend Laura Bradford when it comes to this particular series. If you are looking for something extremely cozy in a cozy mystery series. So Laura Bradford, thank you. Both of these books just felt like a big warm hug, and I am so appreciative and going to be forever thankful for the fact that you wrote these two books for me, because they gave me everything I've wanted in a cozy mystery series. So thank you, Laura Bradford. Coming in at number 7 is Julie Buxbaum. So I read Tell Me 3 Things and What to Say Next, both this year. Both of them received 5 stars. Both of them are YA contemporary books. And oh my goodness, I had never read Julie Buxbaum before this year, and yet I fell in love with her after reading Tell Me 3 Things, which was the first book of hers I read, and then I loved her even more after reading What to Say Next. Both of these books are receiving an overwhelming 5 stars from me. Julie Buxbaum, you can tell that she's either very well researched the main hard-hitting topics that she's dealing with in her books, or she's lived them before and is using these books as a way to either deal with it or to find a way to fictionalize this issue that she either knows very well or has dealt with personally, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because they're both just done so incredibly well. One deals with grief and loss, and the other one deals with, I think it's autism, but being on the spectrum anyway. And, both just done so incredibly well. I was so proud of Julie Buxbaum after reading both of them. They both not only got 5 stars from me, but they both got an overwhelming 5 stars, because when I read a hard-hitting contemporary, what I need to get out of them is the hard-hitting side of a hard-hitting contemporary, and they both were. For those of you who don't know, contemporaries are books that follow everyday people doing everyday things in a fictional world. But what takes a standard contemporary and turns it into a hard-hitting contemporary is when an author picks a hard-hitting topic to discuss and makes that the main theme of the book. So as I say, for What to Say Next, it is autism. Discussing autism in such an open, real, raw and honest way. And in Tell Me 3 Things, taking grief and loss and discussing it in an open and real and raw way. And it blew my mind. Julie Buxbaum, what an amazing author. And I'm just looking at the back of my copy of Tell Me 3 Things, and there's a book here called Hope and Other Punchlines by Julie Buxbaum that I haven't read yet. Oh my gosh. If you've read that book, let me know, because maybe that needs to go on a future TBR for me. Julie Buxbaum, if you're looking for hard-hitting contemporaries and you haven't read her works yet, I highly, highly recommend her as an author. Coming in at number 6 is Lauren Graham. Okay, so last year I read, not last year, I think it might have been 2 years ago, but anyway, I read Talking as Fast as I Can, and this year I read Have I Told You This Already? Both of these are adult memoirs. So for those of you who don't know, Lauren Graham is a very well-known actress who has starred in many things, but is arguably best known for starring in the hit TV series Gilmore Girls as arguably the main character, Lorelai Gilmore. I love that series. I love Lauren as an actress, as well as I love Lorelai as a character. So when I found out that Lauren had released Talking as Fast as I Can, I was very excited to get to it, to read it, especially considering that Lorelai, Lauren Graham's character on Gilmore Girls, is known for talking quickly, so it made sense to me. I really, really enjoyed reading her first memoir, and it just made me really happy. And then when I found out she was releasing a second one this year, I had to read it right away. Both of these books got a high rating because Lauren Graham writes these books in a way like she is inviting you into a restaurant to sit down at a table just with her one-on-one, and she's going to sit down with you and have a nice conversation with you about her life. And not only does it feel extremely personable, unlike some other memoirs I've read where you certainly feel like it's not so personable, where these definitely are. But Lauren Graham's humor, I love it so much. If you are looking for something light and fun and funny that is going to make you laugh, I highly, highly, highly recommend Lauren Graham's works. Don't let the title Talking as Fast as I Can throw you off. She does narrate both of these books, so if you want to listen to them on an audio book platform, Lauren does narrate her own memoirs, which I think is always the way to go if you're going to release a memoir, narrate it yourself. But obviously you can set the speed yourself. If you are physically reading, well, then you'll physically read at your own pace. But these books both were light and fun and funny. And yes, I walked away learning some things that I didn't know about Lauren and great tips for myself to think about in the future. But I just think that Lauren is such a captivating writer, and I just loved, as I say, I don't feel like I read these books. I felt like I was just having a conversation with a dear friend. So I think Lauren Graham, that makes her an amazing author, because you don't feel like you're reading something she's written. You feel like you're having a conversation with a friend. So I highly recommend Lauren Graham. I hope she releases another memoir. There's no need for her to just limit herself to 2. Come on, Lauren, let's write more. Coming in at number 5 is probably an author that you wouldn't think I would include on this list, but I am, because even though I've only read 2 of their books so far and don't plan to read any more this year, I plan to have a dominating TBR including their works next year. I am referring to cozy mystery author Tonya Kappas. So let's put beaches, bungalows and burglaries, as well as deserts, driving and derelicts up on the screen. Okay, so these are adult cozy mysteries. I don't remember what I rated them. I think I gave book 1 5 stars and book 2 4 stars, but I honestly don't remember. But either way, what I love about Tonya Kappas is she's found a way to write short, quick, easy to read cozies that are still fun and engaging with amazing characters and great world building. So in this particular series, we end up following Mae West, who ends up, for reasons, having to move to a caravan park. And while she's there, we meet a bunch of different eclectic characters. I mean, it really is a bunch of licorice, all sorts of types of characters. They're just so very different, and I love them all. And so I grew to love the characters quickly, as well as the world building that we get from Tonya Kappas with regards to the caravan park itself, its culture, and the characters that we follow, and owing to the different types of character, that culture that comes to the caravan park as well. Whilst one of the reveals did let me down, don't remember which one, because I loved a character that ended up being the killer, and that means we probably won't see them again, which annoyed me. grew to love that character and obviously had such a profound reaction to that reveal because of just how amazing an author Tonya Kappas is. She built up this character that I just fell in love with and then had a visceral reaction when I found out that they were the killer. But yeah, I love this series so far. I may have only read 2 books of hers so far, but I tell you what, as I say, next year I plan to read a heck of a lot more of this series. I'd like to ideally put one Campers and Criminals book on my TBR every single month next year, which would have me get up to number 14. This is a very big series. There's many books, but each book is short. So yeah. Coming in at number 4 and just missing out on a medal, but let me tell you, this author certainly deserves a medal, so maybe we'll give her like a tin medal, is Alice Winters. Okay, so let's put up How to Vex a Vampire and How to Elude a Vampire. So I think it was last year or the year before, I read How to Vex a Vampire, and this month in June, I read How to Elude a Vampire. Both of these books are really hard to tell you what their categories are, what to refer to them as. So I call them adult male cozy mysteries that just so happen to have a level 5 of chili rating of spiciness in them. So if you'll know what a cozy mystery is, think of a male cozy mystery, kind of like Josh Lanyon's Secrets and Scrapple series. Imagine that, but within that series, you have scenes of spiciness that are incredibly high. The reason why I'm not just calling it a male spicy romance is because it doesn't read like that. It is not spice cover to cover at all. The main storyline of both of these books follows Marcus and Finn. Marcus is a vampire, Finn is a human. They work together in the vampire-related crimes unit, which is an all-vampire unit, aside from Finn, who is human, who work together to solve vampire-related cases. So the majority of the plot for Book 1 and Book 2 revolve around them trying to solve cases and trying to solve mysteries, which is very much like a cozy mystery, but then they just so happen to have the odd bedroom scene here or there, but when they do, they're extremely spicy. Alice Winters definitely deserves to be on this list because she has taken what I have come to learn a cozy mystery to be and changed it up. You know, we've all heard the saying of a gritty cozy mystery, a darker version of a cozy mystery. These 2 books are not technically cozies, but I think of them as that because when we're not in the bedroom, everything else seems like a cozy mystery to me. So I fell in love with both of these characters really quickly, and so Alice Winters needs to be credited for her character work. Finn is the single most cheeky character I've ever followed. He is so incredibly cheeky. No matter how he feels, he has a retort to everything in the most cheeky way, and I absolutely love him for it. When 9 times out of 10, I don't love cheeky characters, but I love Finn. Marcus is a vampire. He's been around for a long time, so he knows a lot because with age comes wisdom, and Alice Winters has written him well as well, and the 2 bounce off each other quite well. But all of the other characters I've become invested in as well, and the plots are just incredible. My goodness. I was intrigued. I went into How to Vex a Vampire because it was a spicy romance. I came out loving the plot more than the spicy side. After now having read books 1 and 2, I credit Alice Winters for writing 2 books back to back that I loved cover to cover. It's very rare for me to love everything about a book in Book 1 and Book 2, but Alice Winters has done that for me. She deserves a medal, so let's give her a tin one. Coming in at number 4, Alice Winters. And now it's medal time. Coming in at number 3, the bronze medal for my 3rd favourite author for the first half of 2023 goes to Cassandra Clare. Okay, I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've read 10 Cassandra Clare books and DNF'd the 11th one. But I'm going to put 2 books up to represent Cassandra Clare as an author. The first one being City of Bones, which is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series, and the second one being The Red Scrolls of Magic, which is the first book in the Eldest Curses duology. The reason I'm putting up City of Bones is because it all started here for me. I picked up City of Bones a number of years ago because Cassandra Clare is an incredibly polarizing author. I fully, wholly, and completely purchased this book in order to read it and do a rant review of it because I was convinced I was going to hate this book. I walked away loving this book so much that I've read so many more Cassandra Clare since then. Look, the history of Cassandra Clare is kind of well known, but in case you don't know, apparently Cassandra Clare wrote some fan fictions and then they turned into the Mortal Instruments series and people had issues with that. I don't understand it because, quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with fan fiction or fiction press, both being sisterly sites, at all. There's nothing discrediting about it. If you wrote a fan fiction and then you ended up selling that to a publisher and they published it as a non-fan fiction but a real work, good for you. I don't discredit that at all. I don't diminish the published work because it was originally fan fiction, so I don't quite understand the argument that people have going, this was fan fiction and it reads, and some people say it reads like other things. Well, there are so many tropes out there that have been done to death that honestly, I'm not criticizing her for that either. Now, for the pros, so I don't have any cons for her with regards to what a lot of people do with Cassandra Clare. So that out the way. Now to the pros. The first thing I fell in love with Cassandra Clare was the fact that she always does epilogues with her books. And I love that. I understand the need for an author to end a book in a series, each book in a series on a cliffhanger, because that will motivate the reader to pick up the next book. But for me, what I love about Cassandra Clare is she ends most of her books that I've read with an epilogue that ties everything up in a nice pretty bow. Everyone who's left around, she will check in with all of them just so we know how they're doing, how they're feeling as we end the book. We don't end on some dramatic scene that we need to know what's happening next. We end wrapping things up, and her books are incredibly well-rounded, which I appreciate. Also, my arguably equal first, I have two of these, but my equal first, fictional boyfriend is, Alec Lightwood from this series. And I also love Magnus Bane as a character. And, very quickly, that's where Red Scrolls of Magic comes in. They both feature in Red Scrolls, so, as the main characters. I think she's an amazing author and that's why she receives the bronze medal. Third place, Cassandra Clare. Coming in at number 2 is Ian Rob Wright. Oh my goodness. You know that if Ian Rob Wright comes in at number 2, then that means that the number 1 author has to deserve the gold medal, because Ian Rob Wright has done for me for horror what AJ Finn and Alex Michaelides did for me with thrillers. So, very quickly, in March of 2020, when I first started my channel in January of 2020, in March of 2020, I wanted to branch out and read different genres that I hadn't read before or that I wanted to give more of a chance to, and one of those genres was horror. I ended up picking up 2 horror books, and to cut a long story short, neither of them cut it for me. One of them was a middle grade, and despite it being a middle grade, it just wasn't scary at all. I don't know why it was called a horror. It was a Goosebumps book, but I've read Goosebumps books since then that are like 10 times scarier than the one I read, so maybe I just chose a dud, I don't know. And the other one was a Stephen King omnibus book of short stories, and none of them really scared me, scared me, grossed me out, freaked me out, creeped me out, anything like that. So I ended up thinking maybe, because a lot of people had told me, maybe my expectations are too high when it comes to horror, and maybe I'm just not going to find horrors that are going to work for me, because here's why horror is very important to me. Just a very quick side note for you, because this shows why Ian Rob Wright at the very least deserves silver. So growing up, I had a very, very hard time watching horror films. It was just, horrors aren't for everyone, and a lot of my friends had no problems watching horror films, and it didn't matter if I was a child, a teenager, a young adult, or an adult. I just struggled big time watching horrors. I was jumping all the time. I was being grossed out and it wasn't working for me. And then I watched the very first Saw film. And for those of you who have watched this film, you'll know what I mean. And for those of you who haven't, then just know that Saw is an adult psychological horror film. So I was watching this film and I was freaking out. Now, for those of you who have seen all the Saw films, you're probably thinking, but Mr. Francy, it's number one. It's the lamest of all the Saw films. How'd you freak out with that one? But it makes my point. As lame as that first film was compared to the others, and I mean lame by horrific elements, levels of lame, it was still freaking me out. But I really admired the psychological mindset and mind of the character of Saw, and wanted to see if I could find the book of Saw so I could read it, because I just felt like I couldn't handle watching the visual and hearing the visual. And unfortunately, there is no Saw book. Anyway, so when I went into trying to give horrors a go in March of 2020, I wanted books that were going to do that for me, that were going to freak me out and creep me out and force me to leave the light on, convince me I'm going to have a nightmare, gross me out, what have you. And I read a couple of Stephen King books. Only one of them was one that I liked, which was Misery, but Pet Sematary really let me down, I have to say. And so did a number of others. Then I came across Sean Horton's Cenote. I loved it. It was my favorite horror of all time. Then I read another book that wasn't a horror, and that inspired me to look for a horror with a game. And then I came across this book, The Housemates by Ian Rob Wright. This book is the single best horror I've ever read. I know that I said for the longest time it was Cenote, but The Housemates beats Cenote. One of the reasons being it is longer, and the other one being it is a horror with a game. It is incredibly psychological, and I thought it was fantastic. I then, after reading this book, which I thought was a standalone, found out that it was actually the final book in a series. So I went back and read the other three books in that series, one of them being Asbo by Ian Rob Wright. The reason I'm using these two books to represent Ian Rob Wright is because they're both incredibly horrific. If the Alice Winters books are level 5 out of 5 chilies for spice, then The Housemates and Asbo, both by Ian Rob Wright, are 5 out of 5 for horrorness. They are scary, creepy, freak you out, make you want to leave the light on, convince you you're going to have a nightmare. They are what horror should be. Ian Rob Wright deserves so much more credit than he gets. He, just like with AJ Finn and Alex Michaelides, has convinced me that maybe there are, in fact, horrors out there for me, and I have so much to thank Ian Rob Wright for. I will be reading a lot more of his works throughout the rest of the year, so be prepared to see them come up on my channel. He definitely deserves a silver medal. Silver medal going to Ian Rob Wright. So if Ian Rob Wright gets the silver medal, as I said earlier, then the gold medal has to be an author that I feel deserves it over Ian Rob Wright and what he's done for me for horror. And this author, in my mind, does. I am proud to say that yet again the gold medal goes to a female author, and she is, without a doubt, my favourite female author of all time, and continues to be so in 2023. The gold medal for my favourite author of 2023 is Amanda Flower. Oh my goodness. So Amanda Flower is a female author that writes cozy mysteries. I have read the Amish Candy Shop mystery series all the way up to Blueberry Blunder, but haven't read Blueberry Blunder yet at the time of filming. I've read the first 3 books in the Amish Matchmaker series. I've read 2 of the all 3 books in the Magic Garden mystery series, and the first 2 out of 5 books in the Magical Bookshop mystery series. I love Amanda Flower as a cozy mystery author. I'm going to put up Assaulted Caramel and Crime and Poetry to represent Amanda Flower, because these 2 series, this is book 1 in both of these 2 series respectively, these 2 series make me love Amanda Flower, where the other 2 of hers I read make me like her, but these 2 make me love her. Assaulted Caramel has everything I want and more. The mysteries are almost always intriguing. The characters are amazing. Whilst we are in Amish country, Amanda Flower writes understanding that unless you're Amish or have studied Amish culture heavily, you may not understand a book if it's going to be heavily doused in Amish culture, but she does it in an intriguing way where the only time Amish references come up is when a comparison is being made to something we would already know. So if I apologize, that was wrong. If an Englisher, non-Amish person were to do something this way, well, guess what? An Amish person does it this way. An Amish person does this. This may sound weird. Well, this is the Amish version of when an Englisher does this. And I love that. The characters are incredibly intriguing. The animal Jethro, I absolutely love. And the cozy side of this is candy. What's not to love? I love this series to death. As for crime and poetry, the Magic Bookshop Mystery series has captured my heart just as much as the Amish Candy Shop series has. We have two animals in this one, a cat and a crow. I think it's a crow. Yes, Faulkner the crow. And I absolutely love it. There's a magical tree that grows inside of this bookshop, and the magic is that the books are going to help the main character to solve the mysteries. Amanda Flower. Love her so much. The gold medal goes to Amanda Flower. And that is it. Those are my top 10 authors for the first half of 2023. What authors would you put in your top 10? 5, 3, 2, or 1? Let me know in the comment section below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it. Letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye, everyone.